For so long, we've been here, we've been trying to...
Hi there, and welcome to another fundicative edition of the Springboard Hangout. Your Springboard Hangout, as you know, is a fun-filled program that teaches or we learn issues that help us in life. We are continuing our series on adding value to your life. And this week, we are looking at increasing your mental capacity. My name is Comfort Okran. We have in the studios today to help us digest this interesting topic, the one and only Dr. Newman Arthur. He is a clinical psychologist, a medical professional, as well as a carpenter. He will teach us the how and the why of how we can increase our mental capacity. I would like to encourage you to join us, call your friends to be part of this, because today is going to be so much fun. Don't go anywhere. I'm going for a break. When we return, we will look at increasing your mental capacity.
He's always turning around. Hey! Oh, yeah. Hey! No. Oh, no. Yeah. Let's go!
I'm grateful, Daddy, I'm grateful. Daddy, I'm grateful. I did show a salute. I'm grateful, Daddy, I'm grateful. Daddy, I'm grateful. I did show a salute. Eba mi rababa, 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 eba mi rababa.
Are you back for me? I cannot tell it all. Your mercies and your grace favor everywhere I go. Before I call on you, you attend to answer me. Your love for me is real. You've done what no one else can do. Yeah.
Abagine mere mama, abagine bully melu. Makadisha love na baka mi si daddy oh. Abagine mere mama, abagine bully melu. Makadisha love na baka mi si daddy oh. I'm grateful, Daddy, I'm grateful. Daddy, I'm grateful. I did show a salute oh. I'm grateful, Daddy, I'm grateful. Daddy, I'm grateful. I did show a salute oh. Eba mi rababa, 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 eba mi rababa. Shayna, you way to give me good loving every morning. Your message the pouring. I done searched around the whole world. There's no one else like you, only you.
Okwagine mere mama, okwagine bully melu. Makatisha love in the back and they see daddy oh. Okwagine mere mama, okwagine bully melu. Makatisha love in the back and they see daddy oh.
I'm grateful, Daddy, I'm grateful. Daddy, I'm grateful. I did show a salute.
He's always turning around.
Welcome back. And as I said, we are maximizing our mental capacity today. You know, when Bible says that as a man thinketh, so is he, is so real. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure you may have come across someone who, whenever you are in his or her presence, you just feel good because the person always speaks positive things about you. Are you that kind of person? Do people love being in your presence? Or you're that type of person where when we are talking, people would like to run away? if you are the second type, I'm sure there may be something that may have happened. But I'm not the expert. You see, I don't even see why I'm even talking plenty. So I'm putting myself aside, and I'm coming straight to you, Isaac. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you too. It's a pleasure. Pleasure.
Isaac, you're always such a breath of fresh air. And today I'm glad we are looking at how we can maximize our mental capacity. So what is maximizing your mental capacity? Because I always realize that when you know what you're talking about, it's very helpful for everyone to be on the same page with you. So what happens, or what is maximizing your mental capacity?
So basically, it's about adopting certain daily, practices.
Daily practices
that promotes your mental well-being.
Okay.
So daily things that you can do to promote your mental well-being, and those activities, help with how you think, feel, and behave. So mental health is on 3 levels, or mental well-being 3 levels: your thinking, your feelings, and your behavior. Usually when you say mental, people respectfully think about someone who is lying on the streets. Those are extreme forms of mental disorders. There are many groups of mental disorders that affects people, and generally our interaction with our environment and all that also constitutes our mental well-being. You may not have a mental illness, but your well-being too may not be too good. So when we say mental, we are not only talking about mental disorders, but your ability to cope and adjust with life situation. Living a certain meaningful lives with your relationships, with your self-identity, with your influence on society and all that. So anything that has to do with your thinking, feelings, and behavior, and the activities that will promote a certain wellness, mental wellness, is what it means to maximize your mental capacity.
I see. So let me ask you a personal question. Is your mental well-being maximized?
I think that I'm on a process to get into the maximum.
Okay,
so,
you are on the process.
Yeah, so we look at impaired functioning to optimum functioning.
Okay.
Impaired means that you're really down and out. Then optimum means that you're able to, what you call live appreciably when it comes to your mental well-being. So if it's impaired is 0 and maximum is 10, then average is 5. I think I'm around 7, 8.
Yeah, we're around 7, 8.
Yes,
okay, so
so.
You to where we are listening to us. Where are you in the spectrum?
Yes.
I also think I'm around. I think I'm around 8.
So you will be 9.
Oh.
From what I know about you, I think you are 9.5, 9.9 thereabout.
I tell you, there are things that throw me off so badly, and I have to go and say, okay.
Also, that will be the 0.5 we can take out.
We thank God. Right. So in this case, our mental well-being, we maximizing our mental capacity. Let's start from the basics. So then, as a child, you are someone who sees the world around you, and usually a child kind of reflects the kind of environment he or she is put in. Is it possible? I'm not the expert, you are the expert, so that's why we're asking you. Is it possible that somebody may be in a particular environment, and yet the way he or she would grow up because of the person's internal will be far different in terms of somebody who the question is not coming. Okay, so is it possible that an introvert in a very happy environment would really have a bad self-image about him or herself, and vice versa? I don't know what. Okay, so this is the question. What role does one's environment have on his or her mental well-being?
So everybody has the capacity to grow naturally, depending on that environment. I think the previous episode I talked about an environment of 3 things: love, warmth, and acceptance.
Yeah.
Love, warmth, and acceptance. They're able to grow. So that is critical. They may not get it from home, but if they are getting it from somewhere else, then they are able to make up from that destructive environment. But you will need that to grow, whether from home or from somewhere else. So people gravitate towards an environment they can receive that. An unconditional positive regard. Positive regard means that we are regarding you in a certain positive light. Positive light. So, positive regard. But if that positive regard is conditional, it means that you would want to do things to receive that positive regard. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, so, you are. No, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you right now because what came into my mind was sometimes you hear people saying that I have my marriage is unhappy, and so I was wondering, is it possible that the kind of atmosphere we create in our marital, I think we'll explore it later in this conversation, but so if you don't have that warmth, that loving relationship, it's possible that it can have an adverse effect on you.
So the warmth, love, and acceptance and the positive things we do for people or show them, is what we call the positive regard. If it becomes conditional, then the problems begin. So, for example, you're a parent. If your child does well in school, you hug them. Oh, you've done well. I love you. Those things. When they do bad, you don't hug them. You don't say I love you. So now they pair performance with love. So for people like that, they would always want to do things in order to receive that positive regard. So now that positive regard becomes conditional. But if it is unconditional, whether they're doing well or not, you show them love, they grow well. People who are conditional, they gravitate towards things that makes them feel what it should have been unconditional. So that is where peer influence comes in, and bad or poor self-identity comes in. So there are a lot of people who want to receive love by pleasing other people because they pair that with love, and that is very destructive. So now even on social media, you realize that it's become a very, very, very destructive thing. The number of likes you receive or the number of comments on social media may tend to, direct your mental well-being towards receiving, people's, appraisal and all that.
And we become a person pleaser, and that way you just do anything just to get that kind of...
Yes, when it becomes conditional. And that is why even for God, his love is unconditional. And that is why people tend to gravitate towards him. Because he doesn't place value on yourself based on what you do or what you don't do. It's unconditional. And everybody needs that to grow.
Thank you. So everybody needs that to grow. All right, so we have grown. We may or may not have received that kind of unconditional love. But now we are now adults. And some of us may be still in school, or some of us may have started our first jobs, or we might have failed our first jobs or something. How do we, in those of us listening and those that we would invite to be on this program, how do we cultivate a kind of, or maximize our mental well-being such that we are able to cope, we are able to bounce back if we have bad issues being thrown at us? What are some of the things that we can do to maximize our mental well-being?
In other words, people may even talk about mental resilience, and there are things.
Mental resilience.
Resilience means that immovable.
Yeah.
Not external things do not really affect you significantly. So there are basic practices. If people are able to do it on a daily basis, it's going to help them. So we would start. Maybe I would mention some of them that can help. The first one has to do with a positive, attitude, a mindset. So you need to be positive all the time and develop
24/7.
You have to develop the mindset of positivity.
Okay,
it helps. So positive attitude and mindset helps. So, for example, having hope, assurance, and thinking about things in a positive way. So, for example, you fail an exams. Okay, I'll write again. People fail, they move on. I'll move on. That is positivity. If you say, every time I'm failing, God, why me? This world is unfair. You go down. Or you lose a relationship. Okay, no problem. Another person would come. I'll move on. why did he do this? Why did he walk away? God, why me? All men or all women are the same. You start going down. So a positive attitude towards life, is one of the basic things. So we are not a product of the events that happens to us. We are a product of how we think about those events. If you are negative, you may not change it anyway. If you are positive, the experience becomes more pleasant. Then the next one about positivity has to do with feeding on positive information.
Positive information.
Information determines our mental state significantly. So every time, whatever you're feeding on, through music, through news, through people's words, all those information can affect us. So if you're in an environment where every information is negative, you'll become negative in life. And that is why some people may be very, very pretty, but because they fed on negative information about themselves, they see themselves not pretty, even though they are pretty. I think that even happened to Michael Jackson, where I think his father was always, saying negative words about his, I think, nose or something. Yeah. And the guy, though he was very handsome, he didn't love himself. Finally, it's one of those drugs that killed him.
He didn't love himself, and he did all sorts of things.
All sorts of things. And that is information. So you're in an environment, you hear negative. You tend to be negative about life and your own problems. So if you grow up in an environment where they say negative things about money, you're likely to be poor for life. Not because you cannot make money, but you don't have the right attitude towards money.
Oh, so the thing will affect my
It would affect you. So in an environment where the child grows up to think that it's good to have money, it's good to excel, they tend to have that kind of attitude. So information is so important. It's the difference between people, the information they have. That is why this program, I think it's a very, very good one. Because the information is good. It will challenge you to make progress with your life. Then the next one is positive networks. Because the people you surround yourself with become the source of your information and experiences.
Why?
Because you are in touch with them all the time. They speak to you all the time. They create pleasant or unpleasant experiences around you all the time.
All the time.
And information and experiences will determine how you think. So personally, I have friends, a group of friends and mentors like you and Reverend, Okran. And people cannot grow around, people who are really making it, and they will not make it. And that is why some people make it so difficult for others to access them, because they are careful about people who come into their space. Sometimes it's just to protect them.
Yeah.
Not because they don't love people, but they are very careful the company they keep. And the Bible will talk about the fact that good company or bad company or evil company, corrupts good,
good manners,
So that is a principle that everybody has to. So even
in fact, I always pray for my children's friends. I mean, it's something that I pray for, that they would have people who would influence them in a positive way, because that will make them. So I guess it's because somewhere innately I think about this.
And there are 4 levels of friends.
Levels.
I call them the Jesus principle.
Okay.
Of friendships. So you may not, everybody who comes into your life and takes a certain step towards you is divine. God brings people into our lives. But dependent on how the influence, you need to determine how far you go with them.
Yeah.
And how far you go with them is on 4 levels.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody needs mentors, mates, and mentees. Mentors, mates, and mentors are the people above you. You stand on their shoulders to see the next level. Mates are the people who are, in your level, at your level, colleagues. You rub shoulders with them to go to the next level. Mentees are people who are below you. They take inspiration from them. They are the fire on your heels, to get to the next level. So you need these 3 people. But depending on their influence, you need to put them on a certain level of relationship. And those levels are 4. One, when you read John chapter 6, talks about the fact that there were crowds following Jesus. And there were the disciples, and out of the disciples, there were 3 disciples. Jesus always took further with them. And out of the 3, there was one called John, the beloved, the disciple Jesus loved. So the 3 levels, the first level is what we call the level of the crowd. The crowd are people who really don't matter. And they know you, they have some knowledge about you. Me, sometimes I realize people know me, and I haven't even met them. They are the crowd. They really do not influence you significantly, but they know you. when something happens, you know they know you. They are the crowd. And their influence on your life is very minimal. Then the next inner circle should people we call the acquaintances. Acquaintances are people who know you to some level. They are not friends, but they influence you in a certain level. You know, they are the acquaintances. Then the next inner level is what we call the friends. The friends are people who are very close to you. They have a certain significant level of influence on your life, and you hang around with them most often. And they tend to, be part of, some circle that makes some difference. Then the last innermost level is what we call the intimates.
Intimate, yeah.
The intimates are the closest of friends. You may have friends, but have some people who are besties. There are people you can even talk to.
Besties.
On a personal level.
BFFs.
And one of them is your spouse.
Okay.
One of them is your spouse.
Okay.
And your spouse is the most intimate and most closest you can. And that is why you have to be very careful who you choose as a spouse, because they decide everything about your life. Who you choose is what you get. Everything. So these are the levels. So Jesus had crowds following him. So they are the crowds. Then out of them he chose the disciples, acquaintances. Out of the disciples he chose friends, the Peter, James, and John. And out of Peter, James, there's one closest, John. And if you look at the impact on Jesus' life and even Christianity, we don't hear about Bartholomew.
No.
Nathaniel, those people really didn't make a difference. Though they are difference, really not recorded. But you look at Peter, James, and John, they are the ones who wrote some aspect of the New Testament. Because he took them, Gethsemane, he took them further. Mount of Transfiguration, he took them further. So those ones, Jesus was very careful about these three. And they are the ones who introduced a lot about Christianity. Very important. Then out of these, Peter, James, and John, you look at John. Look at the Gospels, the 4 Gospels.
Matthew look at Revelation.
Yes, Matthew talked about, genealogy, his introduction. Luke, really stories. Mark, really stories. But if you look at John, he began with a revelation. In the beginning was the Word. And see, the Gospel of John is entirely different from the other.
It has a different feel.
Deep, because Jesus always took it deeper. And even his contribution, Revelation, is amazing. So the friends you keep, the network of people you keep, you have to be very careful because they determine who you become and even your legacy. Right? This is important because they will decide the details of your life and the impact that you make. Someone may be an intimate today, but if their influence becomes toxic and negative, you may not have to cut them off because they are part of your journey anyway. You may have to shift them into the crowd.
Shift them into the crowd. But sometimes the reality, this is somebody who has really, really been there for you. But the person may not have grown, as you were growing. So how easy will it be?
It's difficult, but the goal of this is to protect your mental well-being.
Okay.
So someone may be a friend today, but the person's presence may become toxic to you. You don't have to lose that relationship, but you have to determine the level of relationship.
And what you discuss actually, the information you get and receive. Okay,
yes, so you may have to shift them into the crowds, but not lose the relationship.
Okay.
Even if the person becomes an enemy, some enemies are good. Jesus had, one critical enemy, Judas. He never talked about him. He never discarded him, but he shifted him to a certain level of relationship with him. So everybody God brings your way is part of your helpers. It's part of the journey. And at every point in time, you would have to determine the level of relationship. And if they have become increasingly toxic, you may not have to lose that relationship or friendship. You may not have to cut them off. Some people just lose people along the way. But you need to be able to push them. Maybe let me give this caution. All these groups of people that you shouldn't lose, you will develop a certain like or love for. That is what maintains the relationship. Not everybody in this group is meant to be a spouse.
Okay.
The moment the devil confuses you to date someone who is just supposed to be a helper, not a spouse, and that relationship doesn't work, and you develop enmity, pain, and hatred for, what you're doing is that you're losing a destiny helper. It's one of the quickest way the devil takes away your helper. So the person is just supposed to be a helper through your journey, either a mentor, a mate, whatever. That is why God brought them. And for anybody who comes into your life, you develop a certain like and love for. Sometimes we misjudge or mistake their presence to be spouses, and we date those we are not supposed to date. When that happens and the relationship goes bad, and you have some enmity towards them, and you even cut off the relationship, you lose a destiny helper. Maybe you were supposed to be a business partner in the next 5-10 years, but you lost him or her because you did not determine the right relationship with them, which is your responsibility.
Wow.
And that is one of the quickest way the devil takes. So I even tell people that don't lose any relationship, whether it becomes negative or not. Just determine the level of that relationship. Because one person may be toxic today, the next day the person may be a blessing. So you would have to determine the relationship but not lose it entirely. Because sometimes you really need enemies around.
Wow.
Because who would God set a table before? You set the table before.
Exactly.
You
You must be before an enemy.
And that is important. And if you look at Jesus' life, Judas was necessary.
Without him, he could not have fulfilled his
But you
journey.
need to determine the level of relationship. So network is so important in determining your mental well-being.
Network is so important in determining your mental well-being. So we'll go for a quick break. When we return, we will continue on how to maximize our mental capacity. Guys, don't go anywhere. This conversation, because I know he whispered to me somewhere that we'll be talking about sex too, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Get me York's rent-a-car. I need a car in 15 minutes. Hi, I'm Jake Morris, and I travel globally. But when I'm in Ghana, York's Rent-a-Car is my reliable choice for safety and comfort on the road. York's Rent-a-Car provides comprehensive logistics services to mainly blue-chip companies as well as individual clients.
At a time we needed a car rental service, and York's fitted in very well per our standards.
Their services is top-notch. Drivers are on time.
It was beautiful to see them behind the wheels. And anytime they pick up a guest, the guests were very, very happy.
Already? Yes. Excellent. York's Rent-a-Car provides services and expertise that include meet and greet services at the airport, car rental, driver personnel outsourcing, and vehicle detailing. What's the problem? With you, I told you, York's Rent-a-Car delivers world-class service to its customers, having their highest safety and comfort in mind. So watch him. Go over open for him. York's Rent-a-Car runs 24/7 operations where customers can make car reservations and inquiries of our services online and also call our hotline.
Welcome back to the Springboard Hangout. Today we are hanging out with Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur, a clinical psychologist, a medical professional, and a carpenter. We're talking about maximizing your mental capacity. And we've talked a lot. We looked at how what your feelings, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior implies about you. We looked at how we can have a positive mental attitude, and then we are now building the building blocks of a mental attitude. We looked when we were there, we said, okay, for you to have a great mental capacity, first you must be positive. You have a positive outlook, and the information you get. And then we ended on the relationships you kept, and he spoke about the 4 levels and talked about how there's a need for us to ensure that those who are supposed to be our helpers, or maybe for some part they are in the crowd, but we bring them so close, and then the relationship spoils, and we say this is now enemy number 1, persona non grata in our life. But who knows? Maybe that particular individual that you have declared persona non grata in your life is supposed to be someone who was supposed to help you in your trajectory, in your business life or something. So even if a relationship should go bad, don't cut it off. Find a way of making that relationship still relevant. Not at that level, but at a different level. So we are coming back to the studios, and I've received loads and loads of questions from you. So I have Mildred from Cape Coast saying that you are saying that the environment you keep is a huge factor in developing your mental capacity. How do I know when to change my environment?
Yes, when you realize that you've lost control over your ability to handle that environment,
okay,
and that everything that comes from that environment is affecting you negatively, maybe it's causing you some distress, or you are not able to function well, dysfunction, or you are, what do you call it, it's causing damage to everything around you, your relationships, your work, your academics and everything, or it's deviating from social norms, which is good, affecting your values and stuff like that. It means it's toxic.
It's toxic.
You just have to move away from that environment.
Okay. Then Foster J from Tantra Hill says that overly, and he's looking for a balance, says that overly negative thoughts can prevent you from taking productive action. And we all agree.
Yes.
But overly positive thoughts could be harmful. So how do you strike a balance? I don't know if there's anything like overly positive.
Yeah, so probably when someone is too positive that they fail to see that something,
could be harmful.
Could be harmful.
Yeah, yeah.
So being positive has no disadvantage. But what it means is that you need to have some measured, realistic kind of, what do you call it, positivity. Because you can't say that I want to buy a limo this year and I'm positive about it.
I have faith. I can do all things.
Yeah, when you can't even maintain limo when it comes. so that is just outrageous. So being positive means that you have a measured, good way of looking at life, so that you don't overwhelm yourself with some situations of life.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. Isaac is asking a critical question. He's saying that how can we help people with PTSD, post-traumatic stress, whatever, and how do we manage our sanity while dealing with such people? It's not really in our topic.
Yes, but I think PTSD is one of the very challenging because they relive it, they have flashbacks, they have dreams and all that, all those emotional upheavals around it, really, but they have to seek professional help.
Okay.
So you, the individual, have to be with them, understand them, be there for them, accommodate all their, issues, then help them seek some kind of professional help. And based on what caused it, there are all kinds of therapies for it. So they will need professional help. But you, the individual, would have to just be with them and be aware of what they are going through so that you don't overly, make things, you don't become overly concerned about what is happening to them. So they need people to understand and be there for them. If that is what you can do for them, then also help them seek help.
Okay. So Nana from Kumasi is saying that how does bitterness and offense impact our mental fitness, and how do you overcome them? We are looking at how to overcome them. We will continue from here. But how does it impact our mental fitness?
You see, when you are bitter, it is a sign of unresolved internal conflicts.
Unresolved internal conflict.
So whatever you are bitter at is not a problem. The problem is your ability to deal with whatever you are bitter. Because another person may face the same situation, they not be bitter, because they've learned how to handle things or their own internal conflicts. So some people are hurt in the past and they bleed on people who are not responsible for it.
They've been hurt and they bleed somewhere else.
Yes, they bleed somewhere else.
And that bleeding is the bitterness.
Bitterness, anger, rage, resentment, and all that. They are a product of unresolved, internal conflicts. So growing up, we have some bitter experiences with parents, with significant others. So it's made you, your internal environment is just not okay. So little things in the environment actually triggers things. Someone can look at someone who murdered their child and tell the person, I forgive you. Because internally they're solid. You know, they are not moved by external environment. The things that may cause someone to be angry, someone will just brush it off or smile because they've learned how to deal with their own internal conflicts. So usually all those negative emotions is not based on what others do or the environment, but based on their own inability to handle their own internal conflicts. Someone may smile at the storms, others will be so overly affected by the storms. It depends on how they've been able to handle their own internal storms.
As I say, you smile. I mean, you dance in the rain. I physically enjoy dancing physically in the rain, but then mentally too, we can dance in the rain. So let's continue dancing in the rain. Yes. And so let's. What other thing can we do to maximize our mental?
So the next broad thing is your expectations. Managing your own expectations.
So it kind of works with Isaac's question.
Yes, managing your own expectations. So expectations of yourself. When you overly expect too much from yourself, you get into trouble. You are always anxious because you are actually trying to do things that you don't have the capacity to do. You need to live a day at a time and simplify your life. Because sometimes we expect too much. We put ourselves so hard that anytime you feel overwhelmed, it's likely you are doing things you are not expected to do. God won't allow us to be burdened beyond what we can bear.
Yeah.
Says, my burden is light, and easy. It says you find rest for your souls.
Yeah.
So the expectation of yourself and expectations of others. Sometimes we expect too much of others that when they disappoint us, then it affects us. Sometimes we expect them to do things that they themselves don't have the capacity to do. Then expectations of the world around you. Sometimes we expect a lot of things from the world around us that things don't move according to what we expect of the world around us. Like who expected COVID-19 will come up? Who expected that there will be war in Russia and in Ukraine?
Yes, indeed.
In the 21st century.
Yep.
Right? Who expected that someone in your life will die? Who expected that business you have, great, passion about will start, having problems. So the world around you really do not move according to your own expectations. So when you are overly expectant about things in the environment, you put undue pressure on yourself. You become too disappointed almost all the time. Then also expectations about the future. People expect so much of the future that when things don't go the way we plan, we become destabilized. And it doesn't mean that you don't have faith. It means that you need to be realistic about faith.
Realistic about faith.
Then also expectations of God. Sometimes we expect too much from God.
Oh, but the thing says that He can do all things.
Well, all things according to His plans. And I think 1 John chapter 5 verse 14 says this is the confidence that we have. That if we pray according to His will, He hears us. So sometimes you have aligned what you want God to do. And God will call Peter. Peter, what is this? You are praying about something and God is even confused. Because it's not even part of His plans. And the danger of it is that we expect God to do things that is not part of His plans. And if He does not do it, we are disappointed.
But we didn't engage Him in the first place.
We didn't engage Him in that conversation. So that is why the basic prayer you can pray is that your will be done as it is in heaven. And you become peaceful and not overly attached to what you are praying about because you've left God's will to be done. This is what you need, but God, let your will be done. When you have that attitude, you really don't, some people are disappointed about God and they even move away from God because God didn't answer that prayer. And sometimes our current disappointment is our future deliverance. We see the moment, God sees the journey. And so some things we expect Him to do, He knows it will be harmful. I had a very, very, some experience in 2011. I was working in one of the hospital intensive care unit. And they brought a woman who had been shot in the head by the husband.
Wow.
She was in coma for 5 days and she died. Then that time, it really dawned on me that if God had stopped the wedding 10 years back, she would have said, God, why me? So sometimes the disappointments we have based on our expectations is God's way of saving us from something we don't know.
In the future.
We don't know. Sometimes you want to buy this car this year, it's not coming this year because God knows if you get the car this year, it may be your coffin the next day.
Thank you.
So in his wisdom and his love and his mercy, he keeps a lot of things away from us that we may not understand. So that is why our hope should be in God's sovereignty and will to bring to pass what we think we should expect. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't expect good things. But in that expectations, we should allow God's will.
Measured in our...
should allow God's will to be done. And we'll be very, very peaceful. Like very, very peaceful. You pray in peace. You know, not your will, but God's will to be done. And that is something that deals with a lot of problems.
You don't know how you've just ministered to me, because I just had some very disappointing news this morning. I mean, I was really all fired up about this thing that I was going to do. And then the person calls and says, oh no, I can't do it. I mean, I felt like saying, honestly, really, God. But I said, this is for my own good. So even though I do not like the answer, Father, may it work out. May all things work out for my good, according to what you say. So,
please, with this point, I respectfully want to just read something.
Okay.
That I discovered in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 12.
Okay.
12 to 15. Can I
Okay.
read?
Yeah. Please do. Please do.
Maybe someone listening. The day I read this, I decided not to worry again.
Okay.
So it says that, let me start from 9. What do people really get? The NLT,
Okay.
New Living Translation version, Ecclesiastes 3, 9 hours. It says, what do people really get for all their hard work? I have seen the burden God has placed on all of us. Think about it. We fight about all kinds of things and later we die. Not even enjoying the things we are fighting for.
Yeah, indeed.
It says that yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the hearts of men, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to the end. That's what creates anxiety.
Yeah.
You are not sure what will happen. Then the 12 says, so I concluded, because of all these things.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can.
Better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves
as long as we can. 13. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Yeah.
For these are gifts from God. 14 says, and I know that whatever God does is final. Nothing can be added to it or taken from it.
That's all.
God's purpose is that people should fear Him. 15. Whatever is happening now has happened before. What will happen in the future has happened before. Because God makes the same things happen over and over again.
That's so. Technology has come before. People do not know you.
So you have a beautiful business plan, but you need to relax, take a day at a time, be hopeful, trust God, and do what you want. When you have that attitude, even the business is not going down, it's part of the process. It will rise.
Now, when we're reading that scripture, you talked about virtues.
Yes.
Does virtues play a role in maximize?
Yes. Even in psychology, there are some virtues that we teach. One, thankfulness.
Thankfulness. Yeah, you mentioned it the other day. Yeah.
Being thankful.
Yeah.
Seeing the cup half full instead of half empty. When you count your blessings and leave them around by and realize that no, the situation is not that bad. Sometimes we consider what we don't have and overlook what we have and feel that life has been unfair. But if you really pay attention, realize that there are a lot of things that you can be thankful for. Then contentment. Contentment is great gain. When you are content, usually we are not content. That is why we have problems. You have this job. Be thankful and content rather than looking over your shoulder to find out what else. You have this car. Be content. Instead of working and thinking I have to have if I do not. So even in psychology, we have the all or nothing statement.
Yeah.
If I don't have this, this is what will happen. The absolute statement, I must, I should. Those statements can be very you shouldn't. It must not be. Sometimes, no, I should have this car, otherwise this will happen. No, you don't have to. So contentment is so important. Then also forgiveness. Unforgiveness is a negative emotion that, deals with you. It makes you uncomfortable and not the person who has hurt you. So show yourself mercy by forgiving others. Because be merciful to yourself by forgiving others. Because unforgiveness destroys you and not the other person. Maybe you are very, very bitter and the person is drinking Coke somewhere or minding their own business or having fun. So by showing them mercy, you are showing yourself mercy. Forgiveness is key. I do not keep, hate, and I do not keep those things at all. Then love is also another virtue. Just love. Even your enemies. Love them, because when you hate them,
nothing.
you don't win anything.
So
the Bible talk about love your enemies and pray for those who despitefully
use you.
When you hate people, you're always planning. When they are doing something and you are praying that something
that
bad
doesn't work out for them.
And they are rising. Your blood pressure is always up there.
So last thing, I promise that do we have anything about sex then?
No. So let me just mention, sex or intimacy. And those things, God created it because it adds on to wellness. Proverbs chapter 5 verse 18 says, enjoy the wife of your youth. Let her breast satisfy you all the days of your life. Imagine God talking about
imagine somebody saying, preach.
Imagine God talking about breasts. So, sex releases 3 chemicals, in the body that adds to wellness and deals with stress and all that. The other chemicals, but 3 primary: dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. Dopamine is called the pleasure hormone. Oxytocin is the happiness hormone. Endorphins helps with pain, stress, and all that, and sleep. So sex helps with sleep. Sex helps with, feeling of happiness and wellness. Sex deals with pain because of endorphins and all that. All these are released in sex. So I tell couples that when they feel stressed, that is when they should have sex, because sex will deal with that stress. But a disclaimer: when sex is not good, it adds on to your stress. So any forced sex or any sex that is not done well, it adds on to your stress. Then when it's also illegal, the problems around it, when I say illegal, no marital sex,
I mean premarital, extramarital.
So a young person may be listening to me and saying, doctor says you go and have sex. And that's what I'm saying.
That's a disclaimer.
So, sex that is outside the context of marriage can create problems. It affects everything else. And those everything else can add to your stress. But generally, sex releases these 3 chemicals that adds on to wellness. Then prayer and meditation is so important.
Prayer and meditation. I think we'll pause on this one.
Prayer and meditation helps with stressful situations. And probably learning how to say no.
Learning how to say no.
Yes. Because people offload their problems.
So
you have to learn how to shut the door when you're overwhelmed. And people will come because you allow them in. At some point, you should learn how to say no to anything that is a stress. Learning to say no, I think, is very important.
Doc, you have over-delivered. I mean, it's been such a privilege to listen to you once again.
Privilege to be hosted by you. Who will refuse your call?
Such a privilege. And therefore, we would like you to say your final words. What if you have 3 key takeaways, what would they be?
Maximizing your mental health your mental wellness is your responsibility. So take steps that would maximize your mental well-being. 2, be positive about everything.
Be positive about
everything. Then 3, regardless of what you do, at some point, only God makes sense. And you have to learn how to develop the right relationship with God. Because when God is in the picture, He offloads a lot of burden that you carry. You'll be shocked that you feel lighter when you can lift up your eyes to the hills all the time.
Folks, I didn't want the program to end because I'm learning so much. And tonight has been one such episode. You know, maximizing our mental well-being or our mental health is everything that we can do and more. And therefore, don't let anyone deceive you, any of you, whether it's an acquaintance, a friend, or whatever, tell you that, oh, this one, you can always do it without having the right foundations in place. So take your mental well-being very, very seriously. Lean onto God. And most importantly, have a positive mindset. Always, always dance in the rain, because it makes such a beautiful difference in how we are able to go through challenges. My name is Comfort Okran. This has been the Springboard Hangouts. And as you know, this program will be repeated at 5 p.m. on the ETV. It's been a privilege coming your way. And I pray that you will have a phenomenal week. As you know, I really love you all. Good night.